Hi everybody, how are you? It's good to be here again. My name is Louisa Havers and I help entrepreneurs and coaches to break through the money ceilings and upper limits in life by mastering energetics and applying aligned business strategies. And I'm so excited to be here with you this week. And if it's your first time catching me live, then it's lovely to meet you. If you have caught a live with me before, do say hello so I can say hello again, and let me know where you're tuning in from. I always love to see where we're connecting around the world. It's just amazing that we can connect like this. I'm actually in London today. I'm at my mum's house. I'm in her spare room. So I'm in a different background. I'll have a different background behind me than I normally do. And actually those paintings there, whichever way around they are, they're my dad's paintings because he's an artist. So I just spotted them there. I was like, yes, that feels like a very fitting background to have his artwork there. Anyway, so I wanted to pop in to continue our conversation around collapsing timelines and how collective timelines impact us, because they're passed down through the generations and we see them in our day-to-day behaviour. And as we approach that time of year of, pagan festivals, harvest, the coming of winter, and All Hallows Eve, Halloween, my guides gave me a massive download this morning to serve people by talking about the witch wound and the collective timeline around that and how it continues to affect humanity, both the masculine and feminine, but also how it shows up in our businesses and our bodies. So you really want to pay attention to this. So I'd love to know, is this your first time, hearing about the witch wound, thinking, what on earth is this? Let me know in the comments. Or are you like, yep, I've been working with this one for a while? Again, would love to know so we can have a conversation around this. So just so that we're all on the same page, the witch wound concept is a collective intergenerational trauma that women have experienced, back in the days where we were prosecuted as witches for our gifts, for being different, whatever that might have looked like. And of course, all those lessons, the scars, the fears, the pain that were experienced by our grandmothers were passed down by, generation and generation and generation. And the residue of that pain is still with us today, whether we recognize it or not, because we hold the memories of these right down at the cellular level. So even if you don't consciously know it, collectively, because ancestors will have experienced this, you will be holding this on some level. Energetically, it has an impact on terms of, because of it being traumatic, fracturing our energy field, and this being held in our body. So whether it's from past lives, parallel lives, this current life, if it's not fully healed, continues to have an impact. And it has the witch wound has cellular scars as well that we can again hold, carrying it from the collective timelines, personal and collective, because it may be that you were a witness to something happening or that your ancestors directly experienced this. So, and these memories are held in our body, in our nervous system, in our heart, in our throat, in our gut. And we want to feel safe in this lifetime. And we want to be able to be seen, to be heard, to stand out and be different, rather than being visibly invisible. Let me know, have you ever felt like actually you kind of want to be visible, but invisibly so? Does that make sense? And the reason why this is so important, because actually if we really start to tune into it, when we think about the horrors of witch persecution history throughout the centuries and across many, many cultures, it is hard to really fully comprehend how on earth this could have happened, because people were sentenced to death. If there were trials, they were not fair, and there was no hope, basically. Somebody could just decide that you were a witch and that was it, and they may have decided that because they didn't like you, because you were standing out, or you perhaps might have been daring to question authority, or perhaps it was because of the way you looked, or you just weren't conforming to whatever the expectations of society were at that time, or the common beliefs that you were supposed to believe, or for being, of course, gifted, healing, being musical, being artistic, whatever it may be, anything that might have been seen as being outside of the box. And if you really start to think about it, if we just imagine the fear that women must have had at that time, so if you just take a moment to connect in with this wound, so I invite you just to kind of imagine this. But of course, if you're currently experiencing any trauma or have experienced any trauma recently, then don't imagine this. Just skip over the next 30 seconds and then come back. So just want to, a little bit of a health warning there. But if you just were to take a moment, now to imagine, if we were to think about bringing this forward and this experience in this now day moment, you're going about your day, you're a woman going about your day, you're minding your own business, you're doing your thing, your usual thing. Perhaps you've just dropped the kids off at school, you're tidying up the kitchen, and then there's a knock at the door, they just push the door open, and there is a group of, intimidating men. Perhaps they are locals from your community, and behind them you see a big group of people gathered, again, mostly men. There might well be lots of women there too. And they grab you out of your home, they drag you into the centre of the village, where more people are gathered. And of course, your amygdala is going to be triggered. You're going to be really confused, like what on earth is going on? And if your amygdala is triggered, you're going to have gone into perhaps you've gone into a freeze mode. So you're just frozen, you don't know what to do. Or maybe you're like fighting, but your fight mode has been triggered, so you're really angry, you're trying to fight, so you're kicking and screaming. Either way, it is pointless because they're not listening. And then they hoist you onto a platform. There's a large stake there coming up from the ground, and they tie you up to the stake. And as you're looking out, you see your neighbours, your friends, people you don't know. And then they read you we don't tolerate persecution, tolerate witchery, tolerate trickery in this village. This is because we deem you to be a witch. And you begin to think, oh my God, what the hell is going on here? And you're trying to get away from the stake that they've tied you to. You can't believe this is happening, and nobody is stopping you because of the trauma that they're experiencing in this now moment as well, by witnessing what is happening to you. So you're looking out at the crowds, you can see all the faces, all the women who have perhaps been trying to protect themselves by avoiding you because they think you're different. Maybe they're smiling, or maybe they're just relieved. And you're completely in that moment of realizing that you're persecuted, that your life is now over, and no matter how much you're struggling against the binds, you are being persecuted for being a witch. And then they take a moment to light the blaze of the stake that you're tied to. I mean, it's horrific when you really think about it. And of course, you're a mother, you're a daughter, you're a sister. And in that moment, you might be thinking about what's going to happen to my family now, and the future generations are coming, because everybody's different. So we don't need to kind of go down into the horror of the pain of all of this. But if we just kind of connect into that amount, we can kind of really feel like this is what we mean about the witch wound, and being able to really understand how collectively it impacts everybody, because it is a collective experience. It's an intergenerational trauma that's just been passed down through our ancestors, or pain that we hold from a past life where we ourselves were persecuted and hunted for being, whoever decided that we were a witch, whatever that meant. So it is a collective wound, and we may have had, as part of that, different experiences in our lineage, whether it is that being persecuted or witnessing the abuse and the persecution of others, because witnessing that is an abuse in itself for that person. It's going to create that trauma. And so we have to understand how it's showing up in our lives today and why it is relevant today. So it can show up anywhere that you are feeling that you are, just for being you're being labelled as separate or other or bad, or perhaps you're feeling like a disconnection from your own cultural lineage or your own healing modalities, a sense of feeling disembodied from yourself, or that you have to oppress your personal beliefs and the freedom of those beliefs, or oppress your emotions. That may resonate for you. And it can show up as well as a deep fear of speaking out or being seen. So this fear of being seen is so prevalent, and ultimately a disconnection from your inherent intuitive abilities and gifts. People can be afraid to kind of reconnect back into them. And ultimately, it's coming from all that programming from that collective trauma. And it could be as well coming through in terms of, I'll be isolated, I'll be kicked out of the tribe, kicked out of my community, kicked out of my clan, whatever the language that is right for you, because of feeling that they're going to see me as being different. And of course then this ultimately creates a mistrust of people that aren't in your close inner circle. And an underlying sense of that the rug's going to be pulled, like a fear of violence being used against you, even if there isn't a real reality of that being in this present moment, but our bodies are remembering all of that at a cellular level. And I mean, there's so much more. It's incredible how this wound goes so deep. And of course, this can all be held unconsciously without awareness that is there in our energy field, impacting our identity, impacting our thoughts, our emotions, our beliefs, the actions that we take. So thankfully, whilst we're in, most countries nowadays, we're not in any danger of being burned at the stake, but the wounds from those who were burned at the stake or felt the fear of witnessing others being burned at the stake don't just go away. They are internalized, they are imprinted into coping mechanisms and survival strategies, and then passed down from generation to generation, and we just have that impact on us now. And it can be in different ways. So just to kind of help you to kind of put this into context, you could have, if we think of the scenario that we were just in visualizing a moment ago, you could have one woman who is a relative of yours who witnesses the atrocities that happen to you, and as a result of that, she is in a constant state of fear. She's doing what she needs to do in order to survive. She's hiding her abilities, so she's keeping her head down. She's stepping away from her power. She's becoming submissive and compliant and isolating herself. In the case that someone finds her out, have you ever had that sense of just not quite sure where it's come from, of like, I'm going to be found out? So she's dampening her power so that she can like blend in and not be different, and refusing to talk about the trauma of what happened because of a fear of being wrong and having then having the same fate. So she's hiding, rejecting her lineage and her gifts to avoid having the same experience. And then you could have somebody else, another woman, for example, also witnessing what happened, and witnessing witches being burnt at the stake. And this woman could be, from a completely different family, for example, and she's just really confused as to what she believes. But there is one thing she knows to be true. She does not want this experience to happen to her. She doesn't want to die like this. And the fear is so strong that she decides that she has to then out others who have a higher chance of being bad than she does. So she's, in her mind, dutifully reporting to her community leaders about the other woman. She knows, she believes that by outing others, she's protecting herself and her family from the trauma that she's just witnessed, even though some of the women have been or are her friends. She can't dare slip up because the fear is it could happen to her, and it's a deep, pervasive fear. So you can see how this collective trauma can be passed down through generations, but people having slight different experiences within that depending on their ancestry and what was going on in their communities. But their ancestors will have witnessed this on different levels. So both women in this scenario have internalized the fear of being burnt at the stake. Both women have then, as a consequence, had to adjust their belief systems, their actions, so that they can survive. So it's linked in with survival, and then they've passed that on to their children, passed all those beliefs on to their children, holding it in their cellular memory, and their children have children, and everything is just cascading along those collective timelines. This is why it's so prevalent, because we just have this underlying state of fear, whether it's real or imagined. It's literally been embedded in our DNA to protect ourselves against persecution. So healing the witch wound means reclaiming all of who you are. It means stepping up and saying, no, I refuse to be hunted, I refuse to be persecuted, I refuse to be shamed, I refuse to be made wrong for being a powerful independent woman. It actually as well means reclaiming the word witch in a positive light rather than a negative one. Someone said to me the other day, "You're a witch." I was like, yes, thank you. So we want to reclaim the word witch so that, you know, people see it in a positive one. Now, you might be thinking, what on earth does this all have to do with marketing? What does the witch wound have to do with marketing? Lots. Because in the marketing space, in our businesses, we want to be different. We want to stand out and be seen, because then the right people are going to be able to find us. The right people, that our ideal clients are going to be able to learn about us, and eventually, you know, they'll come and at the right time decide to work with us. Now, as women, we've had to unlearn that we need to stay hidden on an unconscious level. So you can see how this conflicts with the whole marketing concept. This deeply rooted collective timeline and belief system is stopping us from marketing our offers and with the world, you know, and sharing our gifts. And it can show up in a myriad of ways in our marketing. So let me know in the comments if this resonates, and I cannot wait. I can see you commenting, so I shall circle back to read the comments shortly. Thank you so much for joining in the conversation. And anyone catching the replay, please do comment, because I'd love to hear your thoughts and reflections on this as well. So it can impact in terms of, many people will talk about, let's think of it from this perspective, imposter syndrome. It's an irrational fear about what we believe we're capable of or incapable of. Somehow everyone else is okay to be there, wherever there is, except us. Does that make sense? It can show up as, you know, behind the fear of failure, the fear of being found out to be a fraud. Has anyone recognized that they've got this? And it feels like it's an irrational fear because you just can't figure out the root of it. The fear of being criticized, the fear of being made wrong. Let me know in the comments if you felt these fears. I know I have. And, you know, in business, as everybody knows here, we know we need big girl pants on, lots of courage in business, stepping out, being seen. And, you know, and of course, we all make mistakes in business, try things that don't work as we'd hoped. And along the way, we get to grow and evolve and learn from the beauty of all of this. Here's the thing. I bet 50p, if you struggle with consistency or sharing your opinion online or trusting your intuition when it comes to business. And what I mean here is, so always looking for the right answers from outside of you. So handing over the responsibility to, let's say if you're working with a coach, instead of taking the coach's coaching, trusting your discernment, making your own empowered decision so that you can solve your own problems, so that you're owning the responsibility. Instead of, perhaps, have you ever found yourself blindly following the coach's direction, even if it felt wrong in your body? It didn't feel aligned for you, and you didn't speak up so that they could then let you know that, oh, okay, right, let's see what could feel aligned for you, so you can apply aligned business strategies in your business. So if you've experienced these things, then you're likely experiencing something like the witch wound. And you're stopping yourself from being seen, which ultimately is stopping yourself from really benefiting from your business financially, emotionally, and energetically. And this then has a direct impact on marketing and sales, and of course your overall income that you're allowing into your business. Because of course, the more people you serve, the more you are seen. So I hope this is resonating and is of service to you. I'd love to hear your light bulbs in the comments, and to know, have you done any inner work on the witch wound yourself? What's changed? What's landing for you? This is wonderful to see everybody who's joined in, and yes, seeing all the fears that are bubbling up, fear of imperfection. Yes, and I'll circle back to see the other comments. Oh, awesome. Okay, I felt it. It was strong around 3 years ago. So much had to heal it and integrate that energy. It's hugely impacting for women, isn't it? Thank you so much. It's great to see your comments. Hi, Trina. Yes. And it can feel like, so I hope that if you've ever felt like I've just got this irrational fear and I don't know why, just to look at it through the lens of the witch wound, so you can start to understand where you may not have had a direct experience in this current lifetime around something, but you're holding on the trauma from a collective level and or from a personal level through your direct ancestors, that your body is remembering at a cellular level, your energy field is remembering at a cellular level. And so this is where it's then coming into your mind, your thoughts, and creating these thoughts that you're thinking, why am I so scared to do this? I want to be, visibly invisible. And so that no one can really see me, but I'm showing up and doing the thing, because then that has a huge impact on business. Anyway, I will circle back to pick up all the comments, and to anyone joining the replay, and to pick up your comments as well. I'm looking forward to continuing the conversation. And if you would like my help in healing your witch wound so that you can take up more space and be fully seen and embrace your power on a whole new level, resulting in more miracles and magic in your business, then I would love to invite you to join us for our Heal Your Witch Wound on All Hallows Eve. We are hosting it from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock GMT, so that's the 31st of October. And if you would like to dive in deeper and have a personal healing session with me, the creator of the Helix method, then just DM me Witch Wound private, and we can have a chat about what that would look like in Messenger. Alrighty, so lovely to hang out with you today. Thank you so much for joining me in our conversation. I'm looking forward to the conversation continuing. Sending you all my love, and I will see you very soon. Take care.